Imagine you're suddenly transported to 400 million years ago, during the Devonian Period. This was an age when fish ruled the waters, and life on land was just beginning to evolve. The oceans were teeming with all sorts of ancient fish, many of which would look utterly bizarre to our eyes today. So, what would life be like if you were a fish in the Devonian, or even if you were simply a human observing these remarkable creatures? Let's dive into the depths of the Devonian seas and explore this fascinating world. At this point in time, the Earth was vastly different from what we know today. Oceans covered around 85% of the planet, and life on land was practically non-existent. The seas were the stage for the most advanced life forms of the era. Fish were not only the dominant creatures in the water, but the variety of species was truly astounding. This was the age of fish, and it was a time of incredible diversity and evolution. One of the most striking features of Devonian fish was their armor. Many fish from this period had evolved thick, bony plates to protect themselves from predators. Placoderms were the most well-known of these armored fish. These formidable creatures were among the largest predators of the Devonian seas, growing up to 10 meters, 33 feet, long. Their massive, bony jaws were capable of crushing anything that stood in their way. Imagine facing one of these beasts, its jaws strong enough to easily tear through flesh, including the flesh of other fish. Placoderms were the apex predators of their time, and they didn't just hunt for food, they were a dominant force in the ecosystem. These fish were equipped with armor so thick that it could withstand most attacks. However, with such powerful jaws, they didn't need much to defend themselves. If you were a smaller fish in these waters, you'd certainly want to steer clear of these giant predators. But there were many other types of fish in the Devonian seas, each with unique adaptations that made them formidable in their own right. For example, there were the acanthodians, sometimes called spiny sharks due to their resemblance to modern sharks. These fish were covered in spines and had a powerful, streamlined body, allowing them to move quickly through the waters. Their sharp spines provided protection against larger predators, but they were also agile hunters, preying on smaller fish and invertebrates. Despite their name, acanthodians weren't true sharks. They belonged to a different evolutionary lineage, but they played a similar role as apex predators. Another fascinating group of fish that evolved during the Devonian were the lobefins. These fish had fleshy, muscular fins that were different from the fin structures of most other fish. These lobefins are particularly important because they were the ancestors of the first land-dwelling vertebrates, including amphibians and eventually reptiles. One of the most famous of these early lobefins was Tiktaalik, a species that lived in shallow waters and had fins with partial wrists, allowing it to push itself up onto land. Tiktaalik is considered a crucial link in the evolutionary chain between aquatic and terrestrial life. If you were to spot one of these early land adapters, it would be one of the first steps in the evolution of creatures like ourselves. The evolution of fish during the Devonian wasn't just about defense and predation. The oceans were also home to some of the most bizarre and exotic fish forms you could imagine. The diversity of fish in the Devonian was truly remarkable. You'd see fish with strange body shapes, some equipped with elaborate fins that allowed them to move in unique ways. These creatures were all vying for survival in an ocean teeming with competition. But it wasn't just the fish that made the Devonian seas so fascinating. This period was also marked by the rise of marine life forms that fed on fish, making the waters even more dangerous. Among the most notorious of these predators were the Dunkleistus, an ancient fish that had a jaw capable of crushing bone. These armored giants were massive, growing up to 10 meters, 32 feet, long. Their thick, bony armor made them nearly indestructible, and their jaws were powerful enough to crush through other fish and even Dunkleistus of the same species. Despite the many dangers of the Devonian seas, life for the fish was also filled with opportunity. The oceans were rich with nutrients, especially as sediments from eroded mountain ranges were washed into the sea. These nutrients helped to fuel the growth of algae, which in turn supported a wide variety of marine life. Fish, being at the center of the food chain, thrived in this environment.